have mercy, look at how the time goes.
And welcome to the Coming Home podcast with John Allen. Today I have a special guest. This is my sister, Meredith. I'm on the telephone with her. She's in Ohio. I'm here in Norway. Hey, girl.
Hello, Norway.
Norway doesn't care about you. Norway is wrapped up in their own...
They would care about me if I was there.
They would care about you. You'd make your presence felt. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
Now, this is something. Shame on me for not thinking of this earlier. I was talking with you on the phone yesterday about how we have our little I don't know, connection. It's that sibling connection. We can just look. Now, it's been a while since we've seen each other. I'm here and you're there back in the States. But after several years of not seeing each other, we would still be able to just give each other a look and we would know right away what the funny thing is that we were thinking of, and we'd start laughing. And that's that sibling connection I was talking about.
Well, do people ever ask you, like when I post stuff on Facebook that, you and I would know is funny? Do people ever ask you, well, what does that mean? Why did she put that on your page?
Oh yeah, all the time. I get not so much anymore, but excuse me, but for a while I would get a lot of direct messages from people with question marks about things that you and I would be posting back and forth. I don't know. It's not for them to know, I guess. It's our thing. It's our thing.
Well, and I was just going to say, once you tell them what it's about, do they get it, or are they like, oh yeah,
no,
funny or whatever?
No, maybe they can see the humor in it, but they don't really. I really have to go deep and explain the context to them, because you could just write, I could just write, my lamp kept me warm. And you're laughing right away. You and I know it's from that Little Rascals episode. But over here, although some of the older people used to see the old Little Rascals episode, most people have no clue what that is referring to. So humor is a little bit different over here.
Yeah. Well, our childhood was definitely fun. We had a good time.
But you know what always gets me is the different ways in which we experience. Now, you're only a year younger than me, so we know pretty much the same people. And we had, for the most part, the same types of experiences. But our interpretation of those experiences is totally different. I could mention somebody.
Like what?
Well, I could mention somebody, you'd be like, oh, well, he used to smoke weed all the time. And I'd be like, what? Did he? I just didn't, I don't know, we called them the burnouts, and some of them were my friends, but I just had no idea of what they were doing when it came to the party and the drinking and the smoking and this, that, and the other, and the pills, some of them with the pills. Remember kids used to write on the desks all the time, and I would see people writing 714 is the thing.
714.
714 is the thing. And I didn't know until I was, nice and old, until I knew what that meant. I didn't know that stuff.
Yeah, I knew what the reference was, but I never actually knew what a 714 was. I never asked, but like I said, I knew what it was referring to.
But just the way we experienced the same type of people, I didn't know people were doing certain things. And you're like, oh yeah, she was, yeah.
Well, but the people that were in my class, I always felt like we were known for being partiers and, constant going to somebody's house for a party and everybody was drinking and all that stuff. That's just what we did.
Fast times at Ridgemont High.
Well, it wasn't like that, but no, we had a good time though. I enjoyed my high school years.
I did not. I was, I was a football star and all that stuff, but good gosh, I had a terrible time. I do not look on my high school years with fondness. Me. I just don't do it.
That amazes me. I would never think that you would say that.
Why?
Because it always felt to me like because it always felt like, to me, you were on top. You were, top dog. I always felt like I didn't really have an identity, because it was always, oh, you're John Reese's little sister. You're John Reese's little sister. Well, no, I have a name. And I always felt like I had to, because I did my small share of sports and everything, but I always felt like I never lived up to what you were doing.
Well, that's impossible. No, I'm just kidding. No, okay,
Whatever.
But you were something of an athlete. Didn't you have some school records in the shot put and discus? Didn't you?
I had the shot put record. I broke that.
Record.
It had been there. I don't know. I don't want to say 10 years, but quite a while, because my coach, she was the one that had the record, and because of her, I basically broke it.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
What was your coach's name? Who was that?
She is Nora Kidd.
Nora Kidd, of course. Of course.
Shout out to Nora.
Shout out to Nora.
She's got some health issues going on. She's been in and out of the hospital, but I love her dearly. She taught me a lot. She was a wonderful person.
And you're still in contact with her?
I am, yes.
Good. No, I don't know, but that goes back to our difference in how we viewed those years. Okay, I admit freely I was the football guy. I was pretty badass in football. But beyond that, I just felt like a total outsider. I was not in that group. I wasn't in that preppy group. I knew everybody. We were a very small class, so I knew everybody, of course. But as far as feeling like I was in the middle of things, feeling like I was, one of the cool kids, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
I just can't believe that. That's amazing to me. And I felt like, too,
I was depressed all those years.
And see, I would never know that. I had no idea, because, like I said, to me, you were it. Everybody loved you. You were into your sports, and you were just doing well. Mom and Dad always came to your all your different sports events. But I always
remember
felt
Ma's
like
cowbell?
came to mine. I mean,
she'd ring that cowbell every time I ran a touchdown.
But see, that was it, as proud as I was of you. They never came and saw my stuff. Where were they when I broke the record? Where were they when I was playing softball? Just, so I always felt like I didn't really count.
Childhood trauma.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
But like you said, it's definitely interesting that we have different interpretations.
Totally different interpretations. Yeah, totally different interpretations. I go back and try to think through those years. What the heck was? I mean, I'll admit it. It was weird. I was, and when and for those listening, when I tell you I was a star in football, I was a star in football. I was the guy. But that didn't transfer. You see these old movies, or even some modern movies about the high school football star who's just popular in all ways. That was not me, or at least I didn't feel that way. Far from it. I felt isolated, and like I said, I was depressed all those years. That's just a dark time in my life. I came out of it okay, but I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. That was a dark time in my life. Those high school years. Absolutely. Out there in the countryside.
The crazy thing was in talking to even some people from school in my class that I may have thought were popular and, had all the boyfriends or had all the girlfriends, all that stuff. Some of them had issues going on too. And, it goes back to what you already said. Kids interpret things differently. What you see isn't necessarily what's there or what's going on. Because there was a girl that I went to school with. She and I talked pretty much about this same conversation, and she was like, "Yeah, I never felt like I had any friends, and my life just was a mess in
Yeah.
high school. And it's like, wow, you just didn't know.
What is that thing? Why can't people recognize their own happiness and success in the moment? Because I mean, is that what it is? Is it that things are going well, everyone else sees they're going well, but for some reason the person is up in the middle, who is up in the middle of all that, doesn't see it, and they feel the exact opposite. It's a big depression thing. It's a big black hole of despair. And I don't think that's limited to high school kids. I think there's some adults that are like that. I'm not like that now. I was in high school, but I'm not like that now. But what is that thing? That's just, I mean, that's some weird psychological stuff going on there.
It is. Well, and I think there's a lot more pressure out there for kids than what people really think there is.
Do you think there's more pressure now on kids than there was back in our day?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was
Really?
there when we were younger, but I think it's worse now.
Huh.
Kids, I think, have a different mentality these days.
How so?
Even when it comes to like drugs or when it comes to sex, they're very, what's the word? They just don't take it as seriously as they could. Like it's no big deal to them to go to a party and have sex with somebody. They're just very, I don't know what the word is, but they just, even trying drugs for that matter. Yeah, drugs were there when we were younger and you knew who to go to get what you wanted. But now,
I didn't.
Like these kids are trying some of everything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of out of touch with that, living here in Norway, but you work in a field where you have a good radar that's picking up on what's going on with these younger kids.
It's scary. It is scary. And it's like they have no fear of what the consequences are, or that the first time that you try it is enough to just get you hooked, because they're putting so many different things in these drugs that end up giving you the addiction.
Absolutely,
it makes you want to use them more, and one time is all it takes.
I hear the stories about a kid will smoke weed, but they've put some heroin up in there or some fentanyl or something, and then all of a sudden they got a kick on the fentanyl, and all they were trying to do is do something as simple, in air quotes, as simple as weed, and yet it's laced with this, that, and the other. See, now that fear thing, that's what kept me totally uninterested in drinking and smoking. I didn't smoke back in those days. Because of the fear. It just scared the living daylights out of me to imagine what that could have done to me. Of course, with the athletics and all that stuff, I wanted to stay healthy. But fear. That scares me to this day. That's scary.
And that's what bothers me about a lot of people now, even knowing that they've had a friend that's overdosed and died, or even just overdosed. Mm-hmm. That's still not enough to scare people to not do it. I mean, I can say that there was never any pressure by anyone when I was younger to try something. If I tried it, it was my choice. Yeah. But I always, in the back of my mind, had that awareness of, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't try cocaine, or you shouldn't try that. I just knew what my limits were. But my thing is, at some point you grow up and realize this is not what I need to be doing. My goal is not to get wasted every single week. Yeah. That's just,
and I think a majority,
to me, that's very childish.
And I think a majority of people realize the whole thing about the limits, and they kind of get past that experiment stage. Because I think there's a lot, I don't have any numbers, but I think there's a lot of people out there who have tried all kinds of drugs, hard drugs and whatnot. But they don't make a lifestyle out of it. But to get to the point where no, I was going to say, to get to the point where you think, I'm going to try. Yeah, what's heroin like? Let me try that. I don't understand that thought process, and I'm sure a professional could explain that thought process, but I just don't understand. Look what happened to Johnny, to my son. To imagine him as a teenager making the decision to try heroin or opiates, I try to put my mind in that situation, and I just can't see myself making that decision. I can't see how anyone can make that decision to try something like heroin. Yeah, that heroin thing. I think I'll try that. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. I always had that awareness of, this is as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to do that hardcore stuff.
Well, I remember Ma used to see, I was aware of the consequences of things like that. I can remember standing next to Ma in the kitchen, helping her wash the dishes, and these conversations would come up. She'd say, don't you ever go out there and get drunk. Don't you ever try and smoke this, that, and the other. Don't you ever. So, and she would talk about the consequences of that. Not just that I would get an ass whooping, but what those kind of things could do to me if I tried it, do to me physically and mentally. So, and I remember that from a very young age. And I wonder how many people.
And that's interesting, though, because I never had that conversation with her. She never once said anything to me about that.
No, I can remember she used to, if I remember right, it would be in the context of my athletics, playing football and running track and stuff like that. And then that conversation would come up in connection with that, don't smoke. It'll ruin your lungs. You won't be a good running back because you won't be able to breathe. Don't drink because, things like that in connection with sports. So, yeah. Well, and then I have to wonder how many parents are doing that. Over here, there's kind of a naive thing among a lot of parents. They'll be like, "Oh, you shouldn't talk to your kids about that. They're only 7 or 8 years old. You don't need to have that conversation." Well, yes, I do, and Snoop and I have had that conversation with our 2 kids. It's an ongoing conversation. Whenever it fits to bring it up, we bring it up, and we've been doing that since day one, since they've been able to talk and understand conversation. I don't think it's ever too early to make kids aware of those things and the consequences of it.
I agree.
But
one of the sad things too is in working with some of the people that I do and hearing their stories about how they got started. Well, a lot of these people got started because their parents got them started. And that right there is enough to make you want to just beat somebody to death. That's horrible. Who does that with their child? I mean, come on.
Now we're
talking about young ages.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that you work with people like that. Tell people what your job title is. What do you do?
Right now, I am a case manager at a chemical dependency facility. Mm-hmm. I work with women, and we have residential facilities there where there's one for women and one for men. I'm at the women's facility, and basically as a case manager, I'm not doing any counseling. I mean, I can talk to people about things, but not on a counseling type level.
Okay.
I help them with different resources and just make sure they have everything that they have.
Yeah.
Everything that they need.
Yeah.
I love my job. I absolutely love my job.
It sounds like it.
I will be a counselor. I do. I love it. It is so rewarding and fulfilling, and just knowing that I'm helping someone. And so that's why I'm in school right now, and I'll one day be a chemical dependency counselor.
Now you are another case. Now it just seems like I've been, you're my sister, so that's different. You're in my life, but in my life outside of the immediate family, I seem to be bumping into people who are, in their late 30s, 40s, and even into their 50s, and they are just now falling into a situation in their lives where they are truly happy, whether it's in their work life or with some of these artists and musicians and comedians. They're finally falling into a good place with their art. Now this is the job that you have enjoyed the most in your life, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because,
so it's never too late. Doesn't matter how old somebody is. It's never too late to find that comfort zone. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, I'm 40. That's it. I'm going, it's all over with. My good years are gone. That is so far from true. And I think you're an example of that. Sister.
Well, yeah. And I think you get stuck in a rut, because the thing is, you figure my first job, I started working for the city of Akron right out of high school. So that pretty much was all of my adult life. I was there for 24 years.
Yeah.
So I was 47 when I decided to get into school and get into this field.
Was that scary?
It was scary. It was definitely scary. I mean, I started over. I did take a pretty big pay cut, but the end result is going to be good. So to me, it's worth it. This is something that I wanted to do. I always wanted to go to school and just never kind of had the opportunity to do it. But like I said, this field, it's such a needed field, for one thing.
Sure, sure.
On a different level, too, is there are not a lot of Black chemical dependency counselors. And one thing that I've heard from clients, because we have a survey that we give them a couple times a year to ask for things that may be positive or negative about their experience at our facility. And one of the things that I have seen them say fairly frequently, at least the Black clients anyway, that there's no one like them that they feel can relate to their experience, which translates to they want to see some more Black counselors. And we don't have that many at my agency.
Let's flip that. If this was an agency that was mostly Black caseworkers, do you think the white clients would say, hey, we would like to see more people like us? Do you think that is interchangeable?
I do. I think they definitely need to be diverse with who they hire. Now, I've noticed, I'd say over maybe the last year and a half, we do seem to be hiring more Black counselors.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. As far as I know, we have 1, 2, 3, and that's pretty sad. I mean,
3 out of how many?
Agency.
3 out of how many counselors?
I don't know. We're small. We're nonprofit, but we're not huge or anything. I don't know. Maybe I'll guess and say maybe 50, maybe 60 counselors.
Yeah. Wow.
But diversity is important, just like there
should
be some Asian, just some of everything. So everyone feels represented and feels that they're able to connect.
How in the world am I going to feel represented over here? Good Lord. Diversity? What is that in Norway?
Diversity is important. Very important.
Absolutely, it's important. It's a matter of viewpoints, and the more viewpoints you have, I think about that interagency cooperation where the people within the agency can share their experiences, share their ideas, and then through that there can be a growth in their counseling capabilities. And in order to have that growth, you need an influx of different opinions, I would think. So yes, diversity is important. There's some people who look at calls for diversity as just, bitching and complaining and all that stuff. I do not see it that way. Calls for diversity are important. I think it's imperative if you're running any kind of a business, if you're running especially a business that is, in the field of healthcare, mental health care or physical health care. You need that influx of different opinions, and you get that through diversity.
Right.
Because diversity means different experiences, different viewpoints. Mm-hmm. It stimulates growth.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I think training is a big issue too. Trying to bring people in that can give their different viewpoints. We do an ethics training every year because that's kind of required for licensing. And we had someone that came in last year to do, I had to laugh because I want to say the name of it was something about dealing with the African American population. And it just, to me, it came across as funny. How to deal with Black people.
And then in parentheses, why should we?
It was. I didn't necessarily feel it was a good training. I mean, I think people were just kind of sitting there like, okay.
Well, was it a white guy? Was it a white guy or a white lady giving the training, or was it a black person?
It was a black person.
Okay.
But I just feel like it wasn't, I don't know. It wasn't beneficial to me anyway.
What was
kind
it?
Of corny, actually.
Okay, I was going to say, was it like corny and it didn't get into the meat of the issue? It was just kind of glossed over?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly. It didn't get to the heart of what it should have been.
Well, a lot of people are afraid of that issue. They want to tiptoe around it. I see that all the time over here in Norway. You know, I'm not racist, but, you know, and anytime you start those types of conversations, well, I'm not racist, then you're putting yourself, well, they put themselves on the defensive, and it's as if when that conversation comes up, they feel defensive. Drop that defensiveness and just open yourself up to the conversation. Just open yourself up to the conversation. It's nothing to be afraid of, you know, and I see it on social media. Now, I don't post a lot of political stuff on my personal page. I'm a member in some political groups. And very often, if I just raise the issue of race relations, then you know, within minutes, there's dozens of comments from white people who are extremely defensive, or they accuse me of just being focused on racial issues. You know,
race baiting. That's what irritates me. You're just race baiting.
I think that's stupid. Every time the conversation is brought up, then that issue of race baiting comes out. Why can't it just be a conversation? It is an issue. Right. It is an issue. It's something to be discussed, and I think it's a great discussion to have. But yeah, some people are afraid of it. Some people are afraid of it.
And they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. It just makes no sense to me.
Well, I'm afraid of not talking about it. I get afraid when there's not enough. I
agree.
Yeah, just talk about it. Let's get it out there and deal with it and make some changes.
Well, it's kind of like how when people say, why do you keep bringing it up? What's the point of bringing it up? But you know what? Why would you stay silent? To me, that irritates me. Yeah.
Well,
staying silent is, at times it can be that you're in agreement with the person. Staying silent could be you're in fear of the situation. I mean, just speak up. Let's talk about it.
Well, and what a lot of people do, now I lost my train of thought. Well, I'm a great podcast host. Now I lost my train of thought. Yeah.
And you're old too.
I ain't old, girl.
Older than me.
Yeah, and wiser. And wiser. You know, I don't fall into that age trap. I really don't. I'm living my best.
I don't think I do either.
No,
I have so many people that don't want to admit their age. I'm going to be 50 this year. I'm proud of that.
Yep.
You know?
You know, it's all a perspective thing, because I can remember when we were little, I have very clear memories of when Ma turned like 30, for example, and I would be thinking, oh my gosh, she's so doggone old. And then I remember when she turned 40, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to die soon. When she turned 50, the same thing, just that feeling of, oh my gosh, that's old. And then you start living those years, and then you reach 30 and like, hey, there's nothing wrong with this. And you reach 40 and hey, this is great. And you reach 50 and I don't see it. I don't think about it. I just live my life and I feel great. Look great.
I agree. Now, I will say when I turned 30, I had a little problem with it, but it wasn't because, oh God, I'm turning 30. It was more so one of those things of, I didn't really feel I was where I should be. You know, I'm turning 30. Have I accomplished this? Have I accomplished that?
Okay.
That was the issue.
So you had
But
that...
I tell you what, I have, yeah. But I loved turning 40. 40 was a big change for me. And I think 50 is going to be even better. But I have no problem with age.
When you turned 40, did you have a party? Did you go out?
No, I just...
So you didn't party like you did when you were 15 in high school. That's probably a good thing.
Well, you know, again, that's a maturity thing. No.
Yeah, I'm just playing with you.
I'm so not the person that I was in high school. That was a whole other person.
Yeah.
Really, to me, if I go out now, it's one of those things where I'm kind of looking at my watch, trying to figure out, okay, is it too early to go? Are they going to get mad if I go this early? I'm lucky to stay out until 8:00. I can't do it.
You know, I go out and I'm not doing so much music performance right now. It's been quite a long time since I did that. But when I go out and do my stand-up, you know, I go on stage, I do my thing, and I just don't. I don't know, that being out in the club thing, that partying thing that's just not me. I just don't fit into that. I never did.
Well, see, and I think my thing is I did so much of all of that when I was younger and kind of too young to be doing it, that by the time I turned 21, I was like, you know, been there, done that. I don't need to do that anymore.
Unbeknownst to me, I just did not know you were into that back then. I had no clue, nothing. You hit it well.
I mean, I don't want to make it seem like I was an alcoholic or a druggie or anything like that, but we had fun. We had our group of friends was, you know, we had a good time.
We had a good time, yeah. So, what is the state of affairs there in your area of Ohio right now? How are people doing?
Well, everything is shut down, basically. I went to the store after work yesterday with the hope of trying to get a little bit more food and just things that we needed. A lot of stuff is just closed. You go to the store and some of the shelves are bare. I did finally get meat because I had gone to the store on Monday with the hope of getting some hamburger meat to make, you know, stuff that I would last for a while. Your chilies and sloppy joes and just stuff like that. And there was no meat at all. I thought, wow, this is crazy. No meat, no soap, no cheese, no bread. I mean, we had to go all over the place just to find bread.
Really?
And you definitely can't get toilet paper. That toilet paper is just totally gone.
That's just crazy.
I buy that. Yeah, it's crazy. Things
are pretty chilled out here in Norway. Now, last night, Snoop and the babies went out camping up in the mountains. I haven't been out to the stores. I haven't been out of the house in about 10, 12 days now. Kind of a self-imposed quarantine on myself. I just don't need to catch that virus with, you know, I have asthma. So I'm thinking if that virus gets in my lungs, I'm going to suffer. So I'm on a little self-imposed quarantine. Snoop has been going to work. The kids have been home. They have a full school day, but online. So the kids have been home for the last week. So I really don't get a view of what's happening like with the store situation. But according to Snoopy, there's no big issues with anything being missing. I haven't really been watching much news, so I don't know what's going on. I do see that the streets are empty. There's very little traffic out there. But I'm just chilling.
Right.
You know, I'm just pumping out podcast episodes. I'm doing some YouTube content, doing a lot of music, writing music, writing more stand-up stuff. So I'm just chilling. I'm not trying to downplay anybody else's inconvenience or suffering, but for me, I'm just chilling.
Yeah, the kids here have been out of school all week as well. Everything is online. My college is online. As far as work, we have everybody pretty much working from home right now.
Yeah.
So
how's that working? Is that going okay?
I start that on Monday, so I don't know yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I tell you, it was nice having, I mean, for us, this is just a normal telephone conversation, but I think my listeners were enjoying it. They were probably happy to hear me touch base with you, and you get to talk a little bit about your job and certain things going on. So thank you for saying yes to my request for you to be on this podcast episode.
Well, definitely have me on again. I'd be more than happy to come.
Yeah, well, I need content, so I will be calling you from time to time. Absolutely. Well, listen, say hi to everybody there, and take care of yourself.
You too. And I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, everybody, that was my sister Meredith. I love her to death. We've got that sibling connection. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. I am your host, John Allen. You can check me out at my new website, www.johnallenpod.com. That's JOHNALANPOD.com, johnallenpod.com. Check me out there. From there, you have, you can connect with me on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. All those links to those pages are on my website. I will also be posting I am posting all of my podcast episodes there as well, and also my YouTube channel. So, thank you all for listening. Goodbye, everybody.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Lord, I'm coming home.